All right, today we'll be quickly showing how to create a virtual machine on Microsoft Azure. Okay, to create a virtual machine on Microsoft Azure, all you need to do is to go to portal.azure.com and sign in. You need to have an account with Microsoft Azure to be able to do that. So let me assume that you already have an account with Azure, but if you do not have, you need to create one before you are able to proceed. Okay, so here is a list of resources I already have, but to create a virtual machine, you just go here and click on create a resource. So you click on create a resource, you allow it to load, then you could see there are popular products on the marketplace, as you can see, but today we're just trying to create a virtual machine. So we scroll down, see virtual machine, click on create. Okay, now it brings you to the virtual machine uh, platform, just a very small dashboard here, which includes the basics, the disk networking management. For here, like I said, you need to have an account with Azure, which also means that you need to have a subscription. For the subscription, if you do not have a Microsoft Azure subscription, from the portal, you can also create subscription. There is a 200 free $200 credit that you can use to start a PSQL subscription. Just add your credit card, so once it's done, it doesn't have to look for you to get charged, because cloud resources are like consumption based. So based on what you use, you'll be charged. So yeah, you can once you are done with that, you come here and click on the subscription and then choose the particular subscription that you want. Uh, for this one, I will just choose the subscription that I want. And then for the resource group, because every resource that you create on Microsoft Azure, you want to be able to put them in a group, so that if there is a need to delete the group, or to delete the resource, or let's say you're working on a project, you want to create that all the projects and put them all in the same group and put them within the same region, stuff like that. So the importance of creating a resource group is to be able to monitor those resources, okay, and remove them when you need to. So you can come here and click create new and specify the resource group you want to create. So just call a name here to verify that that name is available. Then you click OK, and then now you have a new resource group, and then call the name of the virtual machine. Let's say VM or test VM, or maybe the name of the project. Let's say you're creating a new application. You call the name of the application. Maybe let's say Niger Doc app. So that can be the name of your VM. It will check that the name is available, and then you choose the region. Uh, for me, I'm doing this video from Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and for me, the suitable region for me. And again, here, the thing about the region here is you want to be able to deploy this virtual machine in the region that is also closest to you, for availability, no, for redundancy purposes. Not just about the redundancy. Let's say it like this, for latency. Okay. And what do I mean by latency? Where the virtual machine is hosted versus where your users will be calling your application from needs to be close enough. Okay. So, for instance, your virtual machine, maybe you are spinning this virtual machine from um, United States of America, and your users will be visiting your website or your web app from United States of America. That is a fantastic region to choose from. Okay, but for me, for instance, I'm creating this virtual machine, and I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. I want my users who are in Lagos, Nigeria, to be able to access this app. The closest for me is West Europe. Okay, so I have to search down here and choose West Europe. Okay, So now I choose West Europe. It says, oh, consider selecting Central Sweden to help reduce your cost. The region you've selected may cost more for the same services. So it is a very valid request. I mean, it's a very valid prompt here. You are seeing if cost is a consideration, you want to switch to Central Sweden, probably because even Microsoft is trying to maybe move people to Central Sweden because most people from our region are choosing to go to West Europe. So now they are probably asking people to move to Central Sweden, which is not too far anyway. So you can choose Central Sweden and you can move ahead. Okay, but for me, I want to keep my selected region and I'll move ahead. Okay, and another thing here is availability zone. So your availability zone will be how do you want, okay, let me bring this drop down so you get an idea of what it's trying to say here. So for your availability zone, there is the physical separate uh, locations where this your VM which you are trying to spin up will be located. Okay, so availability zone is okay, this particular virtual machine I'm trying to spin up, I want it to be available in two physically separate regions. Okay, now within an let's say no, that's not sorry, physically located resources separately, so it's separated in two different locations, okay, but it is still within uh, an Azure region. Okay, for instance, the region which I've chosen, which is West Europe, it will be available. This my virtual machine will be like available in two different locations, okay, within the same region. Okay, then there is the virtual machine scale set, which you want to distribute the virtual machines across zones. Okay, and then there's the availability set, which you want to make available to be automatically distributed. Microsoft has a way of doing that distribution for you, but under here, under the zone, you still have the option of choosing the particular zone options that you want. So there is an option to choose up to three availability zones, one VM per zone. And there is an option which is actually still in preview for Azure to select the zone that best suits you. Okay, so Azure will be the one to choose your zone. Now, you see, if I select on this Azure availability, Azure's selected zone, I will not see the availability zone selection here for me. I cannot select, I cannot choose because I want Azure to be able to choose for me, right? But if I choose the self-selected zone, I have the option to choose the availability zone that I want for this my virtual machine. Again, I probably know how best I want to arrange this. But if you are not really, I mean, if you're starting to do this for the first time, you just want to leave it for Azure to choose for you. And let me tell you, you're actually safe. 99% of the time, you are quite safe. Okay. But people who want to, DevOps people who wants to, control everything, they will be able to control it by themselves. So that's also fine. The security type, this is a configuration which Microsoft also established where you can, choose a type of security, whether it's the standard, whether it's the trusted launch, and whether it's confidential virtual machine launch. This confidential virtual machines launch is like an additional security layer that is, provided for people who want a trusted execution environment, like guaranteed. They don't want to have any issue of attack, whatever, but it means that you will be under Microsoft's protection, and additional protection most of the time will require additional cost, if you understand what I mean. But it's also good if you want it to be there. But by default, Microsoft even puts it for you on the trusted launch because that is also safe, very, very safe. But if you want a standard, security, which is everybody's security, like the basic security for everybody, you don't want to acquire any additional cost. It's also good like this. Okay. But for me, I always like to use the trusted launch. Yeah, to be extra safe. Okay. Now, the image you want to load. So image basically the configuration of the virtual machine that you want to, the configuration that you want to be on the virtual machine while it's being created or spinned, okay, for the first time. So this here, you can choose, depending on what you want. Most people want Linux, like, most people like Ubuntu, some people like Windows. It all depends on what you are trying to achieve for your organization or for your project. You can choose, Oracle VMs, Red Hat, Debian, whatever you really want. If you want to spin, let's say, a Windows server, but with Windows 11, for instance, now this is, you can click this and then you have the, get access to it, from, once it's been created. Uh, and this will just give you basically a Windows 11 Pro, environment. And if you have the license, if you already have a Windows 11 Pro license, you will require to add that license when you are creating it. But if you don't want, I mean, if you want to just SSH into this, most of the times people prefer to use, Ubuntu, just, go straight to the point and, get out from here. Okay. So I would want to use Ubuntu here, and the virtual machine architecture is x64. Basically, if you don't want to bother yourself about this or that, you would, I would tell you that there is no need, but most of the time you can just go for x64. Okay. You don't want to bother yourself about this, the VM architecture, because this is not your PC, right? This is like a PC in the cloud, or a storage in the cloud, or a machine, like it is called virtual machine. It's in the cloud, so it's already there. So you don't want to bother. You just want to put it where it will definitely be like work for you. So most images you want to spin will go functional with x64, and yeah. Azure Spot discount is for those who want to be able to get discounts on, you know, some infrastructure, but I don't really like to use it, so I just leave it. Obviously, you can see it's optional, so you might skip it. And then this comes the size for the VM that you are spinning with that image. And this VM basically is costing about 17 USD per month, which is okay. But you can see other sizes, right? For each of this size, you see bustable series, you see the D series, all the series that you see, their e-CDs, they have what they are best used for. So depending on what your project is about, I don't want to suggest for you, but you know what your project can, the capacity for your project. Okay, if you are running a web app, for me, and the web app is going to carry so much of, REST APIs, so much of data, so much of many things, you want to choose the ones that have higher CPUs, higher RAM, higher disk. Okay, although you can also scale, on most of these options that you choose here. There's an option where you can also scale even when you spin the VM successfully on the Azure portal. You can also scale that virtual machine upward. Okay, and yeah. So for me, for this test, we might just choose. Let me look for something very small. Uh, no stress. There's also a recommended, general purpose, VM sizing that most people use. If you see here, you see two virtual CPUs and 4 gig RAM. Most people, just like your PC, they want to have a dual core processor, and the 4 gig RAM or 8 gig RAM, for normal things like day-to-day stuff. So yeah, this is actually for general purpose. If you see it, if you click on it, you notice that there are more people, like it's trending. Okay, it's just like, something is trending means most people are using it. So if you want a 4 gig RAM or an 8 gig RAM, you can use this option. Let me just go with this option so that we understand. And then I click on select, and I'm out of here. It will load the price so that you can also see. Okay, so you see everybody's going for it, doesn't mean that it's affordable. Okay, it's about $84 per month. And I don't know, anyone who has this project would be able to afford this. But if you can't afford it, at least you saw the one I had before, like the one that was there before, it's $17. But as you can see, it's very, very small. One virtual CPU and 2 gig RAM. I mean, this will work for a website that doesn't carry so much of load, something that is just It's not something that you don't stress. So you just give it this. Obviously, it will function fine. But for things that are more heavier, you might want to look for a better. You might want to take a better sizing. Maybe two CPUs with 4 gig RAM. I mean, just make your choice. Anyway, so let me go back to my choice so that it's just for testing. Enable hibernation, so if you want to be able to hibernate, I mean, depending on what your project is about, you want to be able to hibernate and save costs, something like that. But if your stuff is going to be on the cloud, for instance, a website everybody has to see, I mean, why do you want to be shutting down your virtual machines? I don't know. But that's what it is, and you choose that. Authentication type, this is what you need to be able to sign into this particular virtual machine. Most people want to SSH basically into their virtual machines. And some people want to be able to use password to sign in, like username and password. Okay. If you're going to SSH into this, you need a public key. If you already have an existing public key, you can key that in. But basically, Azure will generate a new SSH key pair for you that you can store and keep for future purposes. Okay. And here, like I said, you can see generate new key pair, which is Azure will help you, choose to generate a new key pair. You can choose the ED format or RSA format. I always use the RSA format because that one is what everybody uses. Although ED is more, I don't know. It's more, I don't know. I don't know how to say this, but I just go for RSA, right? It's common. It's what everybody uses. Okay. Now, and again, the purpose of this video is to just don't stress you. So you don't want me to go into too much details of explaining so much of things that you would probably be stressed about. So spin up a virtual machine, sign into it, make sure it's secured. Microsoft is protecting a whole lot of things. So you just move ahead. For your key pair, you want to name the key pair, and let's say the name of your stock is what's the name of this virtual machine again? Okay, Niger Doc. Okay, so we can just call it Niger Doc so that you'll be able to remember in case you're creating so much stuff. So Niger Doc is the name. End of story. Okay. You can create the ports, allow ports, but if you select none, it will probably keep this thing away from you in real life. But you want to be able to allow some ports because initially you want to be able to access it over the internet. So you want to be able to access it first. So the public inbound port, that means the port that needs to be opened so that you can come into the stuff at least the first time that you've created it before you begin to lock everything up, it needs to be available. So now you can also select the ports. If you want to SSH into it, you keep the SSH open. If you want to, as you can see, immediately I selected that, it says, oh, it's not recommended. I mean, this is only recommended for testing. You need to be able to protect it and all that. You configure that when you get into your machine. Okay. And most of the time, you also want to allow HTTP S and HTTP to be able to even get it over the internet. Okay, so uh, that's also important. And once you're done with that, for me, most of the times I will just review and create. But if you want to add, like do some other configurations like this, networking, all those are additional stuff. But in real life, you can quickly skip to review the and create. So once you click to review and create, Azure takes time to look through what you selected as your configurations, and it will spin up this VM. It will tell you, oh, it's speeding up the VM, it's taking its time. Just like you're trying to boot a new machine, you're trying to clean, configure one or two things, click, boom. It will take some time to make sure that, run the Windows operating system and all that to start it, restart it, just make sure that it's functioning fine. That kind of small time it will take you in real life. It's basically what Azure is doing in the background. I'm not even sure. Anyway, but that's basically what I think. So basically, it takes some time, and then once it has looked at all that thing, I think also checks about their own availability, does some calculations. Yeah, we're here. So it has put some things out here. It is running final validation, as you can see up here. It says running final validation. So this is also trying to check that what you are trying to request for is even available, because all this is a platform that is working on the front end. On the back end, there's a whole lot of stuff that also goes to making sure that there's the resources available for you. So it double checks. Most of them are automated. So it double checks those things, availabilities check for pricing, tells you, okay, here is your final cost. Here's the final estimated cost. Again, sorry, it's an estimated cost to show you, okay, what you spend for that stuff, that you have selected. It checks your region, checks the availability zones, checks the configurations that you've put, checks the image that you put, checks the security that you've selected. Once everything is good and you pass the validation, then you can click to create. Okay. Now, once I click this create, this is when, oh, I think I said this wrong. This wasn't the time where you would, it will begin to check for the, arrange your machine. Okay. It is when I past this stage, when it begins to create, that is when it begins to set up the virtual machine. Okay. So it has said here, generate new key pair. An SSH key will be generated for you. Azure does not store it. Obviously, Azure is not going to store it. But once you click here, you download the private key, to be now able to create this resource. Okay. So this is Niger doc. This is the PEM file. I just click save. And then you see, while I'm still saving, Azure is already generating the key pair, for me. Okay, it's already here. Nice. So now Azure is already going ahead to spin the VM. As you can see, it's working in the background. If I click on this notification, it will tell me that, yeah, initializing the templates deployments to the source group. Okay, so again, you can see it is creating this resource in that resource group that we have indicated. Okay. Now, again, resource group is very, very important. The main reason why resource group is important is if you are trying to monitor your resources for a particular project. So everything you create, whether it's the virtual machine, whatever thing you are creating, put all of them in the resource group for that project so that you can know what that particular project is costing you. If you have multiple clients that you're working for, if you have multiple projects that you're running, if you have multiple organizations, projects, for each organization, you have many customers. Okay. So you want to be able to keep all those things where they are and, know what is being, spent for them. Okay. So, like I said, the deployment is in progress. It's deploying. It has created the um, NIT network interfaces. It is creating a whole lot of stuff in the background and it's telling me deployment is in progress. I hope we're able to spend less than 5 minutes. I really don't know, but I'll check my time, I guess. Deployment is in progress. Fantastic. Deployment is complete. Now, today we have completed a virtual machine spinning. I can go to the resource. When I click to go to the resource, it takes me to the overview of this particular virtual machine. Let me close this. Now, quickly, at a glance, you can see the public IP that has been created. Remember, I said the inbound traffic to this virtual machine needs to be opened. Okay. Otherwise, we cannot even SSH into it. We cannot see it on the network. Nothing. We cannot access it.